I grew up in suburban Chicago, the son of hard-working middle-class parents who taught me the value of honest work. Technology fascinated me from an early age, and by fourth grade, I had found my perfect partner in crime. Danny and I connected instantly over our shared love of video games and computers, spending countless hours dismantling electronics and writing simple programs. Our friendship grew stronger through high school as we built websites together and dominated coding competitions. We both got into MIT, where I studied computer science while he pursued business. Our dream was always to create something revolutionary together, something that would change the world. Before I tell you how my best friend nearly destroyed everything we built, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button if you trusted someone who betrayed you. My parents sacrificed everything to send me to MIT. Dad worked double shifts at the factory, while Mom took on extra clients in her accounting practice. Their dedication inspired me to make the most of every opportunity. Danny came from more privilege, his father, a successful attorney, but he never made me feel less than. We complemented each other perfectly, my technical mind and his business savvy. Sophomore year, we launched our first startup, a campus food delivery service called Fast Bite. We built the platform from scratch in my dorm room, pulling all-nighters fueled by energy drinks and ambition. The service gained traction quickly, but we lacked experience. When a larger company offered to buy us out for $20,000, we celebrated like we had won the lottery. The company promptly shut down our service and absorbed our technology. First harsh lesson in business. After graduation, reality hit. Student loans loomed, so we took separate paths temporarily. I landed a coding job at a mid-sized tech firm in San Francisco, while Danny joined a venture capital firm across town. Every Friday night we met at a dive bar called the Coding Cave to talk about our entrepreneurial dreams over cheap beer. 3 years into corporate life, inspiration struck during one of these sessions. Danny mentioned his frustration with sending confidential documents to clients. Existing solutions were either insecure or impossibly clunky. With my background in encryption and his understanding of business needs, we sketched the first concept of Secure Share on a napkin, a sleek, military-grade encrypted file-sharing platform that even non-tech people could use. The next morning, still buzzing with excitement, we met at my apartment. The energy was electric as we refined our idea. 2 weeks later, we both submitted our resignations. Friends called us crazy. Family expressed concern. But we were consumed by the vision. My garage became our headquarters. We slashed our expenses to the bone, surviving on ramen noodles and determination. My savings dwindled rapidly as we poured everything into development. For 6 months, I coded 18 hours a day, while Danny worked on the business plan and reached out to potential investors. The breakthrough came when Danny convinced his former boss to hear our pitch. Jordan Williams, a veteran investor known for his shrewd decisions, agreed to meet us for coffee. I still remember frantically ironing my only dress shirt that morning, practicing our presentation until my throat was raw. Jordan listened quietly, occasionally nodding. 3 days later, he called with $50,000 in seed funding. That first investment changed everything. We moved from my garage into a small office space in Seattle. Nothing fancy, just a converted warehouse with reasonable rent, but it felt like a palace after the garage. We celebrated by splurging on proper office chairs instead of the salvaged dining chairs we had been using. Our first hires were critical. Sarah Jenkins, a brilliant programmer I had worked with previously, joined us, despite taking a pay cut from her corporate job. She believed in our vision that much. Jackson Moore, a user experience designer with an impressive portfolio, came aboard next. We functioned as a tight-knit family, often working late into the night, ordering takeout and solving problems together. The division of labor seemed natural. I oversaw all technical aspects, coding, security testing, server architecture, while Danny handled business development, investor relations, and marketing. We complemented each other perfectly, or so I thought. When I was lost in code, Danny was charming potential clients. When he struggled to explain technical details, I stepped in with clear explanations. Our beta launch exceeded expectations. Within 6 months, we had grown to 100,000 users through word of mouth alone. Security professionals praised our encryption protocols, and business publications began featuring us as an up-and-coming startup to watch. That attention brought Thomas Caldwell to our door. His venture capital firm Bluestone Capital had funded some of the biggest names in tech. When his office called to schedule a meeting, we spent days preparing. This could mean $2 million in funding, enough to hire more developers, expand our server capacity, and implement the additional features our users had requested. The meeting went brilliantly. Thomas peppered us with tough questions, but we were prepared for everyone. He seemed particularly impressed by our security architecture and growing user base without significant marketing spend. As we left his office, Danny threw his arm around my shoulders. "We are going to be millionaires, Angelo," he grinned. I should have noticed the way he said we instead of us. The first sign that something was wrong came 3 weeks after our meeting with Bluestone Capital. Thomas had requested follow-up information, including detailed financial projections. Danny assured me he would handle it, but the deadline passed without submission. When I questioned him, he casually mentioned he had rescheduled, saying he needed more time to polish the numbers. 2 days before the rescheduled meeting with Thomas, Danny texted that he had food poisoning and would miss the meeting. I had to go alone, unprepared to answer the financial questions Thomas posed. I fumbled through explanations, promising to send proper documentation later. Thomas was understanding, but clearly disappointed. This pattern repeated with other potential investors. Danny would either miss meetings entirely or arrive unprepared. I found myself increasingly covering for him, making excuses that felt hollow even as I spoke them. Meanwhile, subtle changes in Danny appeared. He drove up one day in a brand new Tesla, far beyond what our modest salaries could afford. When questioned, he vaguely mentioned family money coming through. Then came the designer clothes, the luxury apartment in downtown Seattle, weekend trips to Las Vegas, all while our company account barely covered operating expenses. Our small team noticed the shift. Sarah approached me one afternoon, concern evident in her voice. "Angelo, is everything okay with Danny? He missed the product demo with Lightspeed Industries yesterday. That account could have been huge for us." I defended him publicly, while my private concerns mounted. During a rare dinner together, I noticed his new Rolex. When I asked about it, he quickly changed the subject instead, talking about a networking event he had attended in New York, a trip I knew nothing about. The following morning, I checked our shared calendar and found nothing about New York. Curiosity and concern drove me to review our company credit card statements. There, I discovered first-class flights and 5-star hotel charges for cities across the country: Denver, Chicago, Austin, New York, none of which had been discussed with the team. I confronted him in our office kitchen. What were all these trips about, Danny? I thought we made decisions together. His face briefly registered surprise before settling into an easy smile. "Just expanding our network, buddy. Building relationships with potential clients and investors. Nothing concrete enough to bother you with yet." The explanation seemed reasonable, yet something in his tone felt off. For the first time in our 20-year friendship, I felt like he was hiding something from me. That evening, I stayed late reviewing our financial records. Discrepancies emerged. Consulting fees to companies I had never heard of. Expense reports with vague descriptions. Cash withdrawals with no clear business purpose. The total came to nearly $30,000 over 3 months. I hired Taylor Rodriguez, a financial consultant recommended by a fellow entrepreneur, to discreetly review our books. "Keep this between us for now," I requested, hating the secrecy but needing clarity. Meanwhile, the easy camaraderie Danny and I once shared had vanished. Our conversations became transactional, focused solely on immediate business matters. No more beers after work, no weekend hikes discussing our vision for the company. I told myself we were just busy growing up, focusing on the business, but my gut knew differently. Team members began approaching me privately with concerns. Jackson mentioned overhearing Danny on the phone, speaking harshly about our product. Sarah reported Danny removing files from our secure development server without explanation. Then came the bombshell. During a coffee run, I bumped into Melissa from Novatech, our most direct competitor. "Your partner gave quite the presentation yesterday," she commented casually. Very impressive technical overview. My coffee nearly slipped from my hand. My partner Danny was presenting to Novatech. Her expression shifted to discomfort. "Oh, I assumed you knew. He met with our executive team. Discussed potential synergies, he called them." I thanked her and walked back to our office in a daze. What synergies could exist between our company and our main competitor? Why would Danny meet them without telling me? That evening, Taylor called with his preliminary findings. "Angelo, there are significant irregularities here. Money moving from your business account to a holding company called DST Enterprises. Do you know what that is?" I did not, but a quick search revealed Daniel Scott Technologies, Danny's initials. He had formed a separate company without my knowledge. The final confirmation came when Thomas Caldwell called personally to inform me that Bluestone Capital would not be moving forward with our investment. When I pressed for a reason, his response chilled me. "After our private meeting with Danny last week, we have concerns about the company direction and leadership structure." Private meeting. This was the first I had heard of it. Something was very wrong, and I could no longer ignore it. My hands shook as I called Jennifer Reyes, a private investigator recommended by Taylor. Her fees were steep, but I needed answers more than money. Followed Danny for 1 week, I instructed. Document all meetings, especially with other tech companies or investors. Jennifer worked quickly and discreetly. 7 days later, she delivered a thick folder to my apartment. The contents confirmed my worst fears. Danny had met with executives from 3 competing companies, 2 venture capital firms that had previously declined to fund us, and a patent attorney. Most damning was a photograph of Danny handing over what appeared to be a thumb drive to the CTO of Novatech. Further investigation revealed that DST Enterprises had filed preliminary patents for technology suspiciously similar to key components of our security architecture, technology I had developed. Danny had listed himself as the sole inventor. I spent hours combing through our company emails, finding messages where Danny had contacted our investors directly. In these exchanges, he subtly undermined me, describing me as brilliant but difficult to work with, and resistant to necessary pivots. He positioned himself as the reasonable voice of the company, suggesting that with proper guidance, meaning his control, the company could be much more valuable. The evidence was overwhelming, but confrontation terrified me. This was Danny, my best friend since childhood, the guy who had helped me through my parents' divorce, who had stood as my best man. Part of me still hoped for an innocent explanation. I called an emergency meeting in our conference room, just Danny and me. I laid out the evidence methodically. The unauthorized meetings, the separate company, the patent filings, the financial discrepancies, the conversations with investors. His face transformed as I spoke, friendly confidence, giving way to cold calculation. When I finished, silence hung between us for several heartbeats. "You were never business savvy, Angelo," he finally said, voice eerily calm. "Always the naive technical genius. Did you really think your encryption algorithms alone would make us successful? This industry is about positioning, about control. You stole from me," I said, voice breaking. "From our company, from our friendship." His laugh was hollow. "I protected my interests. You should have done the same. The team trusted you. I trusted you. And that was your mistake," he shouted, mask finally slipping. "Trust is for children. This is business." Our raised voices drew attention. Sarah and Jackson appeared at the conference room door just as Danny jabbed a finger in my face. "You think you can run this company without me? Good luck. I have relationships with every investor, every potential client. You are nothing but a coder who got lucky to have me as a partner." He stormed to his desk, grabbed his company laptop, containing critical source code, and marched toward the exit. "My attorneys will be in touch. I suggest you prepare for a lengthy legal battle." The door slammed behind him, leaving shocked silence. Sarah and Jackson exchanged uncomfortable glances with the other team members. I tried to project confidence, but inside I was crumbling. "Everyone, conference room." In 10 minutes I managed to say before retreating to my office. Once alone, I collapsed into my chair hands, covering my face. 20 years of friendship destroyed, our company possibly ruined. My entire professional identity tied to a partnership that had been a lie. The emergency meeting was brutal. I explained the situation as honestly as I could. Some team members expressed shock and anger. Others seemed unsurprised, revealing that Danny had been making separate deals with them, promising promotions and equity if they aligned with the right side. By meeting's end, 3 of our 8 employees had resigned, citing uncertainty about the company's future. The remaining 5 looked to me with expressions ranging from pity to guarded hope. After everyone left, I sat alone in the darkened office until midnight. Then I called the one person who had always been there for me, my older brother Marcus. "I will be there in 30 minutes, he said without hesitation, after hearing a fraction of the story. While waiting, I discovered more devastating news. Danny had transferred $75,000 from our main account to DST Enterprises that very afternoon. He had also revoked my access to our client management system. A legal notice arrived by email at 11:30 p.m. Danny was filing for full control of the company, claiming I had breached fiduciary duties and misused company resources. The allegations were completely fabricated, but would take time and money to disprove. The final blow came when I discovered Danny had registered 3 key patents under his name alone, despite our agreement that all intellectual property would belong to the company equally. Without those patents, our technology was vulnerable. When Marcus arrived, he found me staring at our bank account, now frozen by legal action, and the stark reality that we could not make payroll for our remaining employees the following week. That night was the darkest of my life. Sitting in my apartment with Marcus, I contemplated walking away from everything. "Maybe I should just start over," I said, voice hollow with defeat. "Find a corporate job, pay off the debts Danny and I accumulated." Marcus, always my rock, shook his head firmly. "That is not who you are, Angelo. You have never quit anything in your life." I barely slept. At 6 a.m. my phone rang. "Sarah calling." "I cannot sleep," she said. "This company means too much to me. If you are fighting, I am fighting with you." Her loyalty pierced my fog of despair. By 7 a.m., she was at my apartment with her laptop. "I have been working on a parallel development branch for the past month," she confessed. Something about Danny's questions about our security protocols seemed off, so I built a separate version of our core systems. This parallel version lacked some features, but contained the essential security architecture. It was a starting point, a lifeline. We worked through the day coding frantically to rebuild what we had lost access to when Danny took the company laptop. Around noon, Jackson arrived with coffee and determination. Sarah texted me. "I am in too. My cousin works at a digital forensics company. They might be able to recover evidence from the server backups." By evening, we had a working prototype of our core technology. It was rough but functional. As we ordered pizza, my doorbell rang again. Layla Karim stood there, an attorney I had met briefly at a tech meetup months earlier. "Sarah called me," she explained. "I specialize in intellectual property disputes and partnership breakups. Your story, it made my blood boil. I will take your case on contingency." Hope flickered for the first time in 24 hours. With Layla's guidance, we discovered a critical oversight in Danny's plan. In his haste, he had forgotten about our automatic cloud backups, containing every email, every code change, every document that proved I was the primary architect of our technology. Further investigation revealed a hidden server in our office storage room, one Danny had apparently forgotten about, containing complete records of all internal communications. These records showed clear evidence of his deception and intellectual property theft. Layla also found a potential legal lifeline. Our company formation documents contained a clause requiring mediation before any legal action. Danny had bypassed this, making his lawsuit potentially invalid. My brother Marcus, a successful construction company owner, offered emergency funding to keep our remaining team paid and the lights on. "Consider it an investment in my brilliant little brother," he insisted. With breathing room, we developed a counter-strategy. I reached out to Jordan Williams, our original investor, who Danny had deliberately excluded from recent discussions. Jordan was furious when I shared the evidence of misappropriated funds and technology theft. He not only reaffirmed his support, but connected us with other ethical investors in his network. We compiled testimonials from clients who Danny had approached with misleading information about our company's structure. Several reported that he had offered them special deals that undercut our official pricing, deals that would have made the company unprofitable. A pattern emerged as we dug deeper. Danny had done this before on a smaller scale. Two former business partners came forward with similar stories of deception and attempted takeovers. They had stayed quiet to avoid professional embarrassment, but now offered sworn statements for our case. The turning point came from an unexpected source. Alicia, Danny's former girlfriend, contacted me after hearing rumors about the company split. He did something similar with his previous girlfriend's design business, she revealed. He has a pattern of attaching himself to talented people learning the business, then pushing them out. With mounting evidence, I faced a difficult decision: settle quietly to resolve the issue quickly, or fight publicly to reclaim what was rightfully mine. The former would be easier but would leave Danny free to repeat his pattern with someone else. The latter meant exposing our private betrayal to the tech community. After a sleepless night, I made my choice. We fight, I told Layla. Not just for me, but for everyone who might cross paths with him in the future. The night before our court date, I sat alone in the rebuilt office. Our team had grown again. 2 new developers had joined, excited by our mission and impressed by our resilience. We had rebuilt almost everything Danny had taken, often improving it in the process. Looking around at what we had salvaged from the ashes of betrayal, I felt an unexpected clarity. Whether we won or lost in court tomorrow, I had already reclaimed my most valuable asset, my belief in myself. The courtroom felt smaller than I had imagined. Danny sat across the aisle, perfectly groomed in an expensive suit, projecting confidence. Our eyes met briefly before he looked away, no recognition of our 20-year friendship visible in his expression. Layla had prepared me thoroughly, but nothing could ready me for the emotional impact of sitting through hours of testimony about my former best friend's systematic betrayal. The evidence was presented methodically. Financial records showing misappropriated funds, emails, where Danny disparaged me to investors' technical documentation, proving I was the primary creator of the technology he claimed as his own. The turning point came during Danny's cross-examination. Layla methodically dismantled his claims, exposing contradictions in his testimony. When confronted with email evidence proving he had diverted company funds, his composure finally cracked. Angela was never going to maximize the potential of this technology, he blurted out. He was too focused on perfect security instead of monetization. I did what was necessary for business success. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with 30 years' experience, was unimpressed. What was necessary was honoring your fiduciary duties and partnership agreements, Mr. Scott. Her ruling came swiftly and decisively. Full company ownership restored to me, all patents returned to the company, and Danny ordered to repay all misappropriated funds with interest. As Danny slumped in his chair, I felt no triumph, only sadness for the friendship we had lost, and relief that the nightmare was ending. The media coverage that followed was unexpected. Tech publications covered the case extensively, framing it as a cautionary tale of partnership gone wrong. What surprised me was how the coverage painted me, not as a victim but as a resilient founder who fought for his company's integrity. This publicity brought unexpected benefits. Investors who valued ethical leadership reached out. Established companies proposed partnerships. Top talent submitted resumes drawn to our story of perseverance. With the legal battle behind us, we focused on rebuilding. The team that had stood by me during the crisis became the core of our new company culture. Sarah was promoted to Chief Technology Officer, her loyalty and brilliance, finally receiving proper recognition. Jackson became our creative director, bringing innovative design thinking to our security products. We restructured the company with proper legal protections and clear governance. Every employee received equity stakes, aligning their interests with the company's success. Transparency became our guiding principle. All team members had access to financial reports, strategic plans, and board meeting minutes. 6 months after the court ruling, our user base had tripled. We launched Secure Share Enterprise, targeting larger companies with more complex security needs. Major clients signed multi-year contracts, stabilizing our revenue stream and allowing for thoughtful growth. Danny attempted to launch competing products through various front companies, but without the original technology and with his reputation tarnished, these ventures quickly failed. I took no pleasure in his struggles, but I was grateful that his ability to harm others was diminished. The hardest part of recovery was personal rather than professional. I struggled to trust new business relationships, scrutinizing potential partners for signs of deception. Simple business disagreements would trigger disproportionate anxiety, as my mind connected them to the beginning of Danny's betrayal. Recognizing these patterns, I began weekly sessions with Dr. Hernandez, a therapist specializing in trauma and betrayal. What you experienced was a form of emotional and financial abuse, she explained during our first session. Your reactions are normal responses to abnormal treatment. Gradually, I developed healthier perspectives and coping mechanisms. I created a mentoring program for young entrepreneurs, sharing hard-won wisdom about business partnerships, legal protections, and maintaining integrity under pressure. Helping others avoid my mistakes became a crucial part of my healing journey. New friendships formed with fellow entrepreneurs who had weathered similar storms. Our monthly Resilience Roundtable became a safe space to discuss challenges and celebrate victories. These authentic connections slowly rebuilt my capacity for trust. 1 year after the court victory, SecureShare was valued at $50 million. We had grown to 30 employees, moved into beautiful new offices overlooking Puget Sound, and were regularly cited as one of Seattle's best technology workplaces. The pain of betrayal had transformed into the foundation of something stronger than I could have built otherwise. Looking back, I realized that losing Danny's friendship, while painful, had forced me to develop strengths I never knew I possessed. The crisis had revealed my resilience, leadership abilities, and capacity to inspire loyalty in others. Without that devastating betrayal, these qualities might have remained dormant. The deepest wounds sometimes become our greatest strengths, not because suffering itself is valuable, but because overcoming it reveals our true character. If you are facing betrayal right now, please know that the pain will not last forever. The person who emerges from this challenge may be stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than you can currently imagine. Have you ever had a friendship or relationship that taught you difficult but valuable lessons? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories of resilience. And if you know someone going through a betrayal or difficult business situation, share this video with them. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, sometimes the end of what we thought we wanted becomes the beginning of what we truly needed all along.